Hey, how's it going, guys?
What's up, peeps? So in this episode, we have James, aka Photos That by James on Instagram, and we talk about his 12 plus years of experience in the photography game, as well as diving into the law of attraction.
Yes, and we also dive into some of the stories behind some of his photos, which are just dope. So let's roll this intro and let's get started. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Roberto Guido.
And my name's Marissa Lewis.
And together we are
the Dos Cocos Locos.
And welcome to our podcast.
So our goal with this podcast is to drop as much coconut fire, which is our way of saying life/business knowledge bombs, for creatives that don't necessarily know much about life or business, through conversations with one another as well as with other fellow creatives and dope people.
Our story has a lot of twists and turns, but basically we started by selling coconuts at the beach, and now we have our own photography and videography business, and it's through these conversations that we were able to really learn how to navigate this thing called life. Enjoy. So James, how's it going, man?
Good, good.
Doing good?
Yeah.
Nice, man. Thanks so much for just taking the time to hang out with us and be part of this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. Episode number 16 already.
That's
wild,
That's
man.
insane.
That's wild. That makes no
I
sense
was
to
looking
us.
at our highlights on Instagram. We only started this 6 weeks ago.
Dude,
Like that's crazy.
You guys, everything I feel like you guys do, it's just like full speed.
bro,
It's great, man.
dude.
Thanks,
Yeah, because it's easy. When people see, I think the first reaction I have is like you compare yourself to what someone else is doing,
Yeah.
which
all
can
of
be
that.
unhealthy,
Mhm.
but it's natural. So I'm like, man, they had an idea and they do it. And it's like, why am I sitting here festering on this idea? I need to just start doing stuff.
That's literally,
so it helps get other people.
Yeah.
going, too.
That's true.
I mean,
That's
there's
true.
still things that we fester on that we
Even
Like-
this podcast, we were talking about it for
a long time.
a long time. I want to say close to 6 months. We were talking about the idea of starting and bouncing back and forth. We're like, should we do it? Should we not? And then literally one day we're just like, all right, let's just do it.
Yeah.
It's enough thinking.
Yeah.
That's good,
So-
And the
now
first
here we are,
podcast
man.
that we did, I was dying.
Yeah.
I had really bad allergies that day.
Right.
And it was just not pouring everywhere. I was sneezing. I was during the podcast.
Yeah.
And Robert's like, we just got to do it anyway. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
let's roll it. Let's
do it.
film it.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, man. So we like to start every podcast with this question.
Mhm.
And you kind of were listening to some of our podcasts.
I know. I had to get
I'm wondering if you know the question.
but I don't know that I have a great answer. That's the problem.
Well, dude, just be completely honest, authentic, and we just like people be just 100% real. But the question I would normally ask is, in one sentence, what is it that you do? It could be as long or as short as you want, but I just let you take it away from there.
Yeah, so you got my name and all that already, you know, but not to make this like an awkward intro or something, but yeah, so I'm a photographer. And this probably isn't gonna flow like a sentence. That's
fine.
Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been doing this for 15 years now as a business, and so my main I guess style or what I'm really into, it's more of a journalistic approach to creative photography, and that puts me in different genres, like a lot of event work, commercial work, some sports mixed in there, some portrait work, headshots, and that type of stuff. Started to play with real estate recently. So that's my approach. It's about working with companies and helping them build their brand through compelling photography.
I love it, man.
Yeah,
that was good, man. What are you talking
That was
about?
good.
Yeah.
That was a sentence.
Yeah.
A couple.
Man, it's hard to. I felt like you
That's hard to
took me
compress.
back to the corporate world. It's
Oh my
Right,
god.
okay.
It's like
you're in a
a-
meeting
This is what
and,
I do.
Like, do
they
your
go
one-
around the room,
elevator.
Tell me about yourself.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh shit.
I did that so much college.
Yeah, they do that in
so-
college all the time too. But I like how you brush over the fact James has been doing this for 15 plus years. You said.
Yeah, it's been. I started in the story how I got started going back. My parents were divorced, and my dad, back in when I was born, they were my dad was in the military, so they traveled a lot. I was in Germany when I was born. I was born in Germany, and he had an old film Nikkor camera, Nikon, old off brand.
Gotcha.
And he left that with my mom, and when I was in high school, she's like, here, you want to play with this, and so I started playing with that, and that's how I learned. It's all manual film, and played with that in high school and took some photos of like my cat and dogs and
Yeah.
stuff, like we all do. We
Yeah,
go
yeah,
Yeah.
And then in college I put it down and I played with video more in college. I
Mm.
used to take a video camera around and shoot like
Cool.
street racing stuff and all
That's
that
really
crazy
cool.
stuff
Yeah.
we used to do.
That's cool.
And then more in my adult life, you know, I picked up the camera again, and it started with cars. Like, you know, it's in the car scene.
Mhm.
And you hook up your car, you throw some wheels on it, you lower it and all that, and you go out and take pictures of it and do some photo shoots. And,
Yeah.
and that got more serious. People started to pay me to go and shoot some cars on the track, racing and things like that. And then that just kind of progressed. But so yeah, it's been a long road of, you know, trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do, but a lot more serious in the last like 10 years.
Gotcha.
That's cool.
As a business, you know, when you really start to approach it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So it's,
Dang.
yeah, so it's all. I've been in the Tampa area since I was like 6. So.
Gotcha.
You know,
So this is
So you're
home.
so this is
Yeah, and especially where you guys live, it's closer to home. I grew up like down closer to like gun and line ball.
Okay.
So like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
right around the
Carrollhood.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carol Hood.
Carrollhood.
Yeah. Town of Compton.
That's
Right.
right.
But yeah, so that's kind of how I got in. You know, that's how I got started.
Yeah.
So,
That's cool.
That's very cool.
yeah, it's neat. It's a long, you know, when I listen to some of the other podcasts, you know, I can hear some people, you know, that they're still trying to find themselves, or they're, you know, starting out. They're not brand new, you know, but there is definitely a learning process you go through.
That's
you know,
very
and,
true.
Not just technically, but as an artist too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like life in general, just
Yeah.
figuring out.
Yeah, how
this-
it happened.
Yeah.
The impact it has, and how it can change your course and
Mhm.
things like that. I mean, you guys are kind of the way you figured things out. You know, a lot of people I think would probably look back and say, "Man, I wish I would have clicked sooner."
Mm.
You know, where I realized this wasn't what I wanted to, you know, where I wanted to be, or I find more happiness in this, or more fulfillment.
True.
Gotcha.
But like for myself, you know, I had kids. My son when I was 23, so I was like, you know, life had to start like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and luckily I was out of college. I had a great job, and I was able to build a career while they were growing up,
Mhm.
and so that was very fortunate. But
That's cool.
yeah.
What did you do
so-
before this?
Yeah, I want to know that.
Yeah, so I went to USF. I graduated with economics degree and
Wow.
finance minor, and I wanted, you know, back then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like an economist,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna like, you know, watch the market and do
Yeah,
all this
yeah.
stuff.
Predict
and then,
the world.
Yeah. And then you graduate and you're like, oh shit, I can't do that unless I go and get like a graduate degree or something. I have to go to
Yeah.
school for more years. No, I
Like,
can't do
nah,
that.
I'm ready to go. Start
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so at the time, my sister was married, and her husband was at State Farm, and he helped get me in the door there, and worked in insurance claims for
Gotcha.
like for a long time. For I was there up until I was with State Farm in '98, up to 2000. I started in '98 back then. And then I was there until like 2006, and I was in management and all that. And then I left, went to another company, and ran a department there, like a quality department. Yeah, it's a big department. I had like 5 or 6 people in house, and then maybe an extended reach of like 40 to 50 people outside in the field. So it was a lot of stress, and that's where I kind of hit that point where I realized that this is not like. This is not the kind of life I want to live.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I had great, like, nice big salary, making more money than I thought I ever would. You know, when I graduated, I had certain goals, and I was like, I was doing great, but the stress level that came with that,
Just
and
wasn't
the
worth it.
impact on your life, and I was married at the time, and other factors that play into that, kind of started to really point me in this other direction.
Gotcha.
And meanwhile, all that time I'd been doing photography.
Just like
Part time,
Right.
But it started to get a little more serious around then. And then when I left, I was with that company like for 4 or 5 years, and I left, and I tried to do it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it, man. This is it. And And I went out and I was networking. Thought I was doing everything I needed to do, and it didn't go anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, I just couldn't get off the ground to a level where I was going to be like, okay, this is going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
Right. Because it is not sustainable in the
Yeah.
beginning. Like, we totally get that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it was very...
It makes no sense at all at the beginning stages. Even like currently now, we're just like, we're still trying to struggle to make it sustainable. You know what it
and
is?
I couldn't even imagine having like a wife and a kid at the time.
Well, at the time I was going through divorce, so I got divorced at the time, and so I mean, you talk about like
life
hitting you hard, man.
Yeah.
So there was that, and that's where like I don't want to go too far off topic because I want to finish that, but someone on with a podcast mentioned, you know, they're trying to figure out who they are or what.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff will make you figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Pretty
That's
quick.
true.
And you know, because it kind of strips you down to your core, like
Yeah.
who you are,
To your bare bones.
Literally.
Oh
like,
yeah.
and you learn like what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, how you need to improve as a person, and then that plays into this. If you have that creative mindset, it'll play into that, you know, and hopefully you're at a point where you're using your, you know, and this is how I develop more as an artist is your emotions start to drive some of your work, you know, and there's limits to that, you know, if you're working with like a client, you know, they have what they need, but they also hired you because hopefully they know who you are and your style, so you can let some of that bleed in, but so some of that stuff that happens to you where you get knocked down and you're building yourself back up, that can bleed into your work and create a certain style. So some of the people out there that are wondering like, I haven't really figured out what I want to do or who I am, you got to go through it.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta take some risks, put yourself out there, make a leap.
That's true.
And you might get knocked down, but you're gonna learn real quick who you are, that's gonna help you
for like
advance.
future times.
That's cool that you experience that exact same thing. Because like even though we've only done this for like a short period of time now, like we got our LLC in July, like it hasn't even been a whole year yet. We have felt that like bare bones, like stripped to the core of who we are. It's like a couple and just as individuals and trying to figure this out. Like that, it's crazy that you experience the same thing. Like, we didn't know that was normal.
But that was what I was talking about early on when we started talking here, is that you guys have done it earlier. You know, like I did it. There's no. The great thing is there's no formula.
There's no right or wrong. It's just everyone's at their own pace.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you can do it, man. And that's like someone who's older who was like, man, I can't. I have kids. I have one. The other one just graduated, so I'm gonna have two in college, in the fall. So it's like you talk about, man, you gotta do the right thing. You can do all that, you know. And if you want to be creative and you have a family and you have a wife, maybe now's not the time to be full time with it. Maybe you build it up part time, and when the timing's right, it'll click and you hit it.
And then you go.
Right.
And that's kind of how I felt like, you know, happened with me. Because go back what I was saying, that first time around when I left that job and I tried to get it going, I was networking with the wrong people. I was doing the whole small business circuit, you know, the morning brunch, the morning coffee meetings, and not with like we did, but I mean like there's the different business groups in the area. Some are great, and I've heard great things about some, but the ones I was hitting weren't the right ones. They were not the clients I wanted. They didn't have budgets for creative work. They were other small businesses that were trying to get off the ground.
As well,
it's fun to collaborate, and I did take advantage of some of those collaborative moments where it's like, hey, you know, can you shoot this? You know, there's no pay for this, but your name, you know, you take advantage. You got to be strategic about that stuff. So, but I ended up going back to State Farm, you know, because I was like, man, that was what, 2009-ish, maybe, somewhere around there, where I was like, I gotta, you know, my kids are still in, we got, you know, the expenses and things. You gotta live life. So
those you gotta pay.
So I just, that was good because it was a point where I was like, man, maybe I should just step back from this and focus on the corporate world. And but at the same time, I was changing like as a person too. And,
so like you already kind of like started this like evolution stage. And like even though you kind of had to step back, your mind was still moving forward.
Right. And that's kind of where it started. And that happened over the course of, you know, I mean, 5-6 years, you know, to bring it to like, kind of came to a head last year, you know, where I was like, really started to be comfortable with who I am as a professional, doing photography work, and as a creative, what I could bring to the table. And a lot that helped with that is that I got really heavy into like street photography and started using that as my outlet, the emotional outlet, and telling like different stories that I felt were, relevant and kind of relating them to me. And that was our whole project, the Thin Line project. And I don't think I met you guys after.
I've still seen the Instagram account.
Yeah, it's out there. And, I did a few shows last year at the Rialto, Portico, did a little bit with Tony and Michelle with Il Soul. And, it was cool to get up and tell a story.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to do that a few times through that. And I was thinking about that, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but what you guys are providing, like with this podcast for other artists and creative people, is that same kind of platform, because that's where I felt like I learned a lot, and it all kind of came together is when I could sit down and had to really think about, well, what am I going to tell these people about this project I did, and how does that represent me as a person?
Causes you to like reflect and be like, all right,
and you're being a little more transparent, and so, and you got to be careful with your words, and so the podcast like this for the ones that are just starting out, or maybe they've been around a while and they're stuck, this is great, because they're gonna go through this and they're gonna look back and say, I should have done this, or I should have done that, or it's gonna build them up even more.
Yeah.
So that's cool what you're doing.
I
don't know
cool.
I didn't even think about it like that.
You wouldn't realize unless someone told you.
That's crazy.
How that can help, because being able to, and that's true in the corporate world too, when you go through like these training, these classes to be in leadership, one of the things they did in the past, is they record you, giving like a presentation, and then you look at it and you're like, oh man, like, I was like, and I do these weird things with my hands, and, so it gives you a moment of self-reflection. And
that's cool. I did not even think about it that way.
So for anyone out there, I mean, that's get yourself in front of people, because that's a big way to, it lets you get that transparency. You're transparent, and it helps you develop. If you're not ready, it'll help you develop your story about who you are. And then all that that should all tie into your portfolio and
all your work and everything.
And not just like from an art perspective, but that should tie into, like, if you're trying to be a commercial photographer or a videographer or whatever it is, that should all link together. Like people, like some of my clients are like, oh, we like you because you do this. You have this candid style where you're just shooting behind the scene. No one even saw it coming. And you captured these natural moments, and that they'll pay for that, and but if you have a style that's like, say you light your photos really well, you carry around, I have a friend who carries around a huge softbox everywhere on the streets and stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and people give him a hard time for it, but that's his style, and people want pay that. For that. Yeah. So there's enough, but you have to be authentic about it.
Be who you are, and people will come to you.
Be comfortable, and people will find you for that work. And if it's a documentary style, then dude, that's your style. Like, I'm a documentary photographer. Own it.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, but with video. That's crazy. Yeah,
so those are all the things I kind of learned about myself, and through that whole process. I mean, there was some bigger pieces to it. Like I know some of the podcasts,
I like how you did his research.
I know. I like how you
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
I want to make, like, I look at opportunities like this as a big thing, because I mean, it lets me get out there and talk. But if I can impact one or two people, that's huge. That's what it's all about, and it's giving back in a effective way. And so I mean, I'm very open to share those experiences, and that's why I wanted to make sure. I mean, I have. Like, I opened my lap. I have a little Post-it note in here too. I was writing down because I was like, I want to make sure that, it gets out there. And if people listen, great. That's what they need to help. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, I forgot what I was saying though. It was good.
Dang. Sorry,
All
Jay.
right. All of
that was good.
Yeah, that was
No,
really good.
that was
But
good.
it'll come back.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like there was a theme of some of the podcasts that talked a lot about like mindfulness and mental health, and that's where I was touching on over the last couple of years, where it's like you have things happen, and sometimes it's just a bad relationship with somebody or a friend, or it could be work, or your shift into this creative world that's stripping you down. But that's like really important, and I know that's a big topic right now, and it's getting out there. It's very popular. But I think that's a big important thing.
Yeah,
and that could tie into some of your work, and some of your outlet, and but I thought that was cool. Yeah, and there was actually, I know you talk about books. I brought this, and I have,
so lit, bro.
dude, I have.
Law of Attraction.
I have
we
the
talk about that a
planner.
lot.
You already know about it.
Oh, we read that book.
Well, you guys
I
gave
think
this to
that's
me.
actually
We did.
And I haven't even opened it yet.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Oh, you gotta watch.
It's
You gotta
okay,
read
it's
it. I was gonna say you
okay.
gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Do you need it back?
No,
No,
take your
no.
time with it, bro.
I just haven't had. I'm bad about reading.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
But this.
That's like what?
I think it's not a case.
It's been so long you didn't even recognize it.
No.
I know, it's bad. I need to read it.
That's funny.
But
That's
this,
cool. So what is
so
this?
you know about this? Or you've heard about?
I
You've
haven't heard about
the
the
law
we
of
heard
attraction.
we heard of
Yeah.
the law of attraction. It's true, by the way. Right?
Yeah. So I paid money to have someone like recommend this to me,
Yeah.
But anyway, so someone I was working with to help me get unstuck from some problems I was having was she recommended this planner, and I didn't get all the way. I mean, if you're a planner person and you like to do this
I'm a
stuff,
planner person.
this would be easy for you to go through and like follow through and commit.
That's cool.
The biggest piece of this is completing the initial steps inside. But so this takes mindfulness and your mood it brings it together with your goals.
Can I see that?
And about
that's really cool.
you can
That's cool.
check it out. And you can open it, and I have notes in there and stuff,
Dang.
but it helps you outline what you want to do, like who you are as a person, and where you derive your happiness from.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's if you like yoga and you like meditation and you're a mindful person, and you feel like you need a push,
I definitely recommend this.
yeah, I would recommend that, and that's something you can just buy at the bookstore.
That's cool. And this is called Law of Attraction Planner, a 30-day journey creating your dream life. For everyone who's listening.
Yeah, that's it.
This is what it looks like.
And if you got it, the way I did it, I'm bad with books. And this was the same. I just picked it up and I'm like, oh man, I gotta like figure out like
because it's something that you don't normally do, but those are like probably the best times to like do it though, because it forces you to like
you really
learn a different skill,
flush it out,
different part of
That's
routine.
cool.
Yeah, it's like you getting down to your life's vision statement. I mean, that's pretty big.
Wow.
Damn.
That's deep.
That's super
That's deep.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who you are or what you want to do,
Who am I?
Yeah, like
right?
Whoa.
That's scary.
Wow.
God,
That's
super
big-
deep, super quick.
Yeah. So go, dude. It's
you gotta check
I don't
that
know how
out,
much
then.
this was, but it's
That's
I feel like
cool.
it'll be
like
worth it.
$15 to figure out
It's
your
an
life.
investment.
Figure out your
Yeah.
whole life.
Dude,
Yeah, I
that's
think it's
worth
worth the investment. Yeah.
But it breaks it down into pieces that will help you get there.
Dang.
So
cool.
and I think that's a big piece of all this stuff is that we might have like a problem or you have this idea.
Yeah.
It's like huge, right?
Yep.
And being able to break it down into little pieces is where I think some of us get stuck. Like we don't know that. Yeah, I know I want to be here 10,000 feet, but okay, I need to start here on the ground level and build up.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? And that's
Gotcha.
that's the same concept the book has.
I love
it. Yeah.
And that's the way to do it, because for us, we noticed that, all right, what do we want to do? Like with the pop-up event that we did. Also, shout out to James. He brought like a vintage truck, which is dope.
Yes.
And it just added so much to the experience.
People were all over
everyone was
it.
like
Oh my
freaking
gosh,
out.
it looks so
Yeah.
good.
Let me give a little. So I walk around the corner, I see people standing on the hood.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I was like, hey.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Just sit on the edge.
Like, you don't need to stand on it.
Yeah.
but it's okay. We'll like explain next time.
And then, but when I drove away, there were two, and I don't want to get too graphic, but there were two like cheek. They weren't someone's
No.
face. and the windshield. So somebody had their ass right up on the windshield. I had to wipe it off because it was like a blur on the window. So that's how crazy it got over there.
Dang.
Oh my god!
All right, well, it was pretty lit.
The
It was
photos
pretty
look
lit.
great, though.
Sorry. I'm gonna make this like into a family, keep a family.
It's so
I
funny.
love it.
Cheeks on
Dang. Now, where was I going with this? God.
That's
It's
good.
okay.
We're talking
we were
about
talking the
the
pop
pop-up.
up
Okay, yes.
and how it was quick. And we planned it out.
Dang. Goals.
Yeah.
So literally we just had that big goal. For us it was a pretty big goal because
Yeah.
how cool it would be. But it really helped breaking it down.
Mhm.
Kind of it's like the little baby steps to
Yeah.
get to that goal. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, they try to build up from just the little steps, but they don't have a big goal where they're heading towards.
Yeah, right.
Having a big goal really does help because you're like, all right, I want to do this.
Yep.
How do I do this? And then you break it down
Like
backwards.
reverse
Yeah,
engineering.
reverse
how to get
engineer
there.
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So-
and like I've done that. You try to use that method. I get pretty, I like paper and writing things out, and I'll do it in Word a lot. But
Yeah.
but if you just throwing stuff out there and putting the words on paper,
Mhm.
and then breaking them down into categories, and then maybe ranking things of
Yeah.
priority or importance.
Oh yeah.
What's gonna, and you can assign all sorts of weights to it. What's gonna bring in income? What's gonna make me
Mhm.
happy? Those are all things I think are important for people to do. Is to
Oh yeah. We do that often,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not enough.
Yeah,
like
we
I
definitely
literally
do.
had like 12 sheets of paper out one day, and I just wrote the months on the top. We
Yeah.
haven't even gone through it yet, but I just wrote the months on the top. I'm like, oh, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna write down
Yeah.
our goals for every single month, and
They're still blank.
they're still somewhere.
Yeah.
But we need to do that.
Yeah,
but,
that's true,
getting
though,
things
yeah.
on paper,
Mhm.
we sometimes we just sit down and like, okay, this is what we need to do this month. How are we gonna break it down?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How are we gonna organize this? When are we gonna get
It's
it
it's super easy to get caught up in the day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Right.
That you just kind of just get too focused on that, then you're not even going towards your goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's true.
dang.
And that's the same thing. Like when I knew I was gonna go out on my own again, the
Mhm.
second time, I knew I had this time. I was like, oh, I think I got to figure it out now. Like the clients I need to approach and how I'm gonna market and things like that, compared to that first time.
Right.
And but one of the things I did was take, how am I gonna derive an income? Like
Mhm.
number one, what do I need to live?
Yes.
Yes.
And then number two, where's that gonna come from?
Yeah.
And I kind of took that approach. I know I need to make X amount,
Mhm.
per year. Okay. Then per month. Okay. Per week.
Yeah.
Per week.
Oh, per day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yes.
broke it down.
Yeah.
Like I need to make this much per day.
Uh-huh.
And then where's that going to come from? So I have this huge big Excel sheet that I work off, and I still use it today. And I
That's cool.
I broke it out
Yeah.
by month now.
Yeah.
Like every month
Yeah.
I fill in the blanks, but I have all the income streams. Photography. If it's
That's cool.
all the potential streams that I was gonna say I'm gonna derive income from these potential places.
Right.
So so it doesn't look like what I thought it would. It's funny,
Yeah.
because
It never does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
No, we
never
thought
does.
we were gonna go in a whole different direction with
Yeah.
this.
yeah. I mean, the photography, what it ended up, it's a nice thing because I'm ending up doing more in photography than I thought I was gonna be able to do.
That's
cool.
awesome.
And because I thought I was gonna have to break it up by doing other things, including part-time insurance work, which I do some of that still too.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And but it's I'm able to do less of that and more of what I love doing, which is great.
I love
That's
it.
I mean, I'm only doing 4, maybe this week I might be lucky to do 4 hours of.
Nice.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
this week is a down week too anyway.
Yeah,
True.
so
I'm cool
super
with
chill.
that. Yeah.
Love it. Dang.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a quick little pause because James is just killing it on this
Yes.
podcast,
Oh man.
and I didn't even realize it. I'm like, holy shit! It's already almost 30
We're
minutes.
running out of time.
So quick pause. Enjoy this little commercial break, and then we'll be back. good?
And we're back.
And we're back. Dang. So we were kind of like having a conversation a little bit while the commercial break was going on. But literally, we just met James a little bit, I want to say like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Literally, yeah. So I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on this. What's your thoughts as far as like the concept of time in relation to making relationships?
It's good, man.
Question?
I'm just curious.
Go ahead in the memory bank for this. I think as I've gotten older, and this is, I think most people as they get older, this concept of time gets smaller. Like
That's true.
The old, and not to say that younger people don't have the same mentality. Some people are very wise, relationship wise, and they learn early on, you know. But being older has helped me develop skills where I can get a read on someone and see if someone's genuine or where they're coming from. So those, like the span of time is a lot shorter. Where you meet someone, you're like, oh, these are good people. They're on the same path. We're gonna click and we're gonna make this worthwhile. So that's kind of my view on it. And that plays into, like, you see, like, older people, you know, when I say older people, like I'm aging myself. Man, I'm not that old, man.
You're really not that
I do a lot
old.
of dumb shit.
You really do,
I
which
ride
is
bikes
dope.
in the street.
It's dope.
Hang out with some crazy people.
Hey, yo, that's
Age is just a number, bro. Age is just a number.
That's how I feel. But I do have that on my side where I'm like, I can, and that's like like I was saying, like you'll see two people get in a relationship and they're older and then like they're married in like 6 months, you know, and it's like that happens a lot, right?
What?
Whoa.
It's because you know, man, you've been through so many bad relationships, maybe, or some were great, you know, but you learn, you know who you are. And you can quickly just
go
seize the moment,
So hit the ground running.
So some of that, you know, but and that's a skill to develop, you know, is you know, in the business world, is being able to read those things out, because you'll use that with clients too.
That's true.
You can quickly ascertain whether this is a
wanna
client
work with
I
them
even
or
want to
not.
work with.
Yes.
Maybe this is going to be a one-time gig and I'm out, you know. Or do I want to cultivate this relationship? Because that takes work too. So so that's kind of how I look at that.
Freaking James with the knowledge bombs.
Wow.
That's so true.
Yeah, it is.
That's great.
But that's I mean, not to say, you know, we don't get ourselves in trouble, because, you know,
we're human.
In a business world, you see money and you're like, oh, I can get that money, you know, and I'm going to take this job, you know, and it could end up being the craziest, you know, worst thing, you know, because it's pulling you from other jobs that are more fulfilling. So
that's true.
And the same thing with like love and relationships too. You like get head over heels, but you know this person's not good for you. It's same thing, you know. So that's where you kind of develop over time, you know. But it's funny how that stuff plays into like the actual work you do, you know. So
that's wild.
So man. But what else? You were talking earlier before, so I wanted to mention too. You were asking me about like projects and stuff. And,
So any future projects that like I know you kind of mentioned it, but for the
I wanted to mention because it's some cool stuff. Like I was talking about the project I did last year, the Thin Line project, and I still shoot and granted I haven't gotten out as much as I
Can you explain real quick what the Thin Line project was?
Yes.
So that's where I was talking about getting in front of people and really knowing who you are and getting. So that was a mainly street photography project that touched on issues of mental health and transparency. And it was about telling not only the subjects in the photos, you know, a lot of people just on the streets dealing with issues of mental health and capturing people in certain elements, and even everyday people in certain elements, and but then myself as well. You know, so it's kind of like two-part. You know, in photography, it's usually you have a photo and you're talking, and it's like you're telling the story of the subject. But I thought it was pretty cool to have it equal parts, so much just about the subject, but also the photographer as well.
That's cool.
And so that was the project. You know, the thin line representing this feeling of walking this line on one side, this relative greatness that you can experience, but on the other hand, total like destruction. you know, and I
Wow.
for a long time in my life I felt like I was walking that line,
Mhm.
and there's times even still, you know, today, but you know that's not a healthy place to be, you know. But it's it created a lot of like creativity and crazy like a driven feeling to go out and just put yourself in elements that you wouldn't put yourself in before. You know, with that project I did, and I know people have done this, but for me it was when I went to New York and one of the trips that I've been doing, I stayed out all night, 24 hours, and it was a
Yeah, I
combination
remember you
of
told us about this.
wanting to do that,
Yeah.
but then just the hotel situation. I got sick of the Airbnbs I was in, and it was when the hurricane came through Florida. My flights got canceled, and I was like, "This is it, man. I'm just gonna stay out." And so it's actually more than 24. It was like more like 36 because I had to wait till the next day to fly home. But I slept in the park and shot all night and
That's crazy.
Yeah, it sounds.
How was that?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was cool. It was I got about like, so there were, I got through. I had been shooting all day already. You know, I was doing the fashion week stuff, so I was shooting all day. So it wasn't like I took a nap. I was ready for it. You know, it just kind of happened because I didn't want to stay in a crappy Airbnb. The only options that I had, and some of them are nice, but the ones that were available were like
a basement.
It was called the Bowery House, and for number one, for someone who's tall, you know, the rooms are like cubicles.
Hey.
And there's people next to you, and there's little doors on the cubicle. They're like real cubicles. They're like maybe 8 feet high, well, maybe 8 feet high, and there's like a lattice roof.
Wow.
So you can see through like to whatever the ceiling is, but you can also hear the people right next to you or the person. People snoring, sneezing on the phone. Close the doors all night. I didn't sleep.
That's
the
crazy.
night I was in there. It was a cool experience. And then the shared bathroom thing. There's like 50 people on that floor.
Wow.
Yeah,
oh my
dude.
gosh.
I mean, there were like multiple stalls and showers and stuff, but
still,
I was like, you know,
quite an experience.
Yeah, I'd rather sleep in a park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll clean up in a nice 5-star hotel bathroom. You know,
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's fine.
It.
But yeah, so I got to like 4 or 5 a.m. and this is in New York, like Manhattan area, and I was thinking it would be like popping the whole time. It's dead. There's nothing going. That city. I mean, there's probably certain parts, just like Tampa, that you know are up all night and party and stuff. But I walked through Times Square at like 4:30 in the morning, and it was dead.
Really?
Lights and everything are there, just people cleaning up on the streets.
Wow.
So it's kind of neat.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. I mean, maybe other people had a different experience, but that was whatever night that was or whatever it was. It was dead. So it was two things, because the idea was to shoot and capture like the experience and what's going on around that time, and it made it difficult because I was like, man, where am I gonna, like, what am I shooting here? And I'm not just gonna shoot homeless people sleeping on the street or something. I want something meaningful and telling something that stands out to me. And so I had to get out and walk around a little bit. My feet hurt, my back hurt, carrying like my full pack.
Wow.
Because I didn't have a room.
Yeah.
So I had my gear and my clothes all stuffed in like a messenger bag, like backpack. Yeah, it's like a 20-liter whatever backpack, roll top back.
Oh, I like those. Those are cool.
It was cool. Yeah, it was heavy.
Yeah.
And but it was cool. Yeah, I got to see the city wake up, which I thought was the coolest thing, because
that's pretty cool.
Like around 5 in the morning, you started to see people running, like working out, walking their dogs a little bit, going to work early. It was on a weekday the next day, so so yeah, I saw the city get up, saw the sun come up, and then once Central Park opened, I went out there, and I guess a lot of people do that, but I just found like a little slope under a tree and took like a 2-hour nap maybe, and then I was like, man, I gotta clean up, I was gonna go meet the Fashion Week guys and shoot more on the street. I was like, I can't wear what I had on yesterday. So I wanted to clean up. So I walk across like outside of Central Park, and there's like a Four Seasons hotel. I'm like, it's like I walk out, it's like a beacon of light. I was like, So I'm like, I was like, now let me just get in without someone saying something. And dude, I found a nice like bathroom that had like real linen towels and everything, and I'm like, oh yes, this is real. Like not even
you gotta hustle it out, bro.
It's great, man. I took a picture in the mirror when I was done and everything. A little selfie. It's awesome, dude.
Freaking love it, man.
That's
it was
so
fun.
cool.
So that was cool. And then but the thing is, during that I think it was that trip, I got some really I think it was that trip, I got some really like impactful photos that were like, there was one I took, is before I was waiting for the plane. So I was like going around killing time a little bit. Yeah. It was rainy, kind of rainy, cold. And, but I remember taking, or actually that was a different trip, but there was, so this is probably, I think this is another time when I went, but I remember it was rainy and cold. So I don't think it was that September trip. It was in February, but I took this photo, and that's why I go out there, is to really just connect and let go. And but I remember taking a photo, and I haven't really shared it. It was up during that show, the second version of that show that was at the Portico, and it was like, I took the photo, and I was like tears coming down my face.
Really?
You know, it was like, it hit me hard, man. And I was like, I just want to go home. I was like, I want to go home. You know, I was like, I had to stand there for like 20 minutes. And then I was right outside of like Chinatown, Bowery area. I don't know if you're familiar with New York, but it's like a certain part. So I was kind of in between that. There's some stores and stuff around there, some department stores and things. But yeah, it was, so like photos like that, that's where I'm like, man,
that story.
So I mean, it was obviously someone who mentally wasn't in the right place, and was out on the street, torn jacket, no shirt underneath, and just the tones of everything, the tones of the light, and what he did, like, you know, he's reached down for like a cigarette, but when he saw me, it's like this nervous reaction he had, because I was like as far as us.
Wow.
Yeah, I've started to get really like
close to people,
confident about doing that and engaging people. Like I stood there and I was like, I just felt compelled to take this picture. And when I put the camera up, I don't shoot it like down at my waist or anything.
Right.
I go right up in the view, you know, right up in the viewfinder. When he saw me do that, he looked down, he went and grabbed like a cigarette butt and tried to light it, and it's more like a nervous reaction, you know, like but you could see like the desperation on his face, you know, and it's just it was tough, and that's the kind of stuff that, and so that led into that whole, I mean, that's part of that story with the project, because that could be me, man, that could be any of us, you know, if we don't take care of ourselves and surround ourselves with the right people. So
that's true.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was deep, bro.
Yeah, so I mean, that's kind of, you talk about, that's the kind of the thin line and how that came about. And now it's like, what, you know, it kind of transformed into what the show is at the end of this month. You know, Tony and Michelle from Il Sol, Merge Culture, where we actually, that's where we met.
That's actually where we first met.
That's where we met.
That's where we met, at that show. So they
selling some stuff.
They are dope, man, because they do so much for like artists and the scene, and you know, obviously they have their mural work that they've all over Tampa, but their gallery they have now, Merge Culture. You know, I've talked to Tony a lot. I'm like, dude, we need a photo show, man. You're doing all this art, it's cool, but let's do a photo show. Let's do a photo show. And so this is it. He's jumping into that, and it's called Swimming in Waves. So it's music themed. You know, there's a huge music scene in the area. A lot of cool people doing stuff, and so he's got a lot of photographers that have shot some of that scene and some of that culture. And it's on the 25th. And I think it's at Lot 1901 in Ybor.
Oh yeah.
We know where that is.
I think I saw the flyer today.
Yeah, but check their page, because they're doing like a free guest list thing. You have to reshare their post and do. It's on the Merge Culture page at Merge Culture.
Check it out.
Check that out. Yeah, because that. So I've been, ever since I did that first show. Seeing your work in print is really cool.
Yeah.
And I went big. I put money into it, and a lot of the frames are like 36 inch by 40, the big 24 by 36 inch black and white prints. And
I think you had some at Merch Culture the day.
Yeah, I was trying to because what I learned is the downside is that not a lot of people buy street photography, or maybe I just haven't hit that market. But you bought some.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So but the big pieces are hard to move, and you know, so I actually still have a lot of those, but I started to think about what like the medium, you know, that we create with like our art, and how that, by watching Tony and Michelle, you know, they use some of my photos and some of their murals and some of the renderings they've done, and I was like, that's interesting to see how one form can like transform into another, and I was like, I want to play with that a little bit, and so I've started to explore with that. You know, I have so many like old photos that I wouldn't use for anything else, and I was, you know, just playing around with some of the renderings and things, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing a piece that kind of touches on that, and
That's cool.
it'll be a big, like, hopefully it comes out, or you know, it'll be like 8 feet by 4 feet, and
wow.
And but the thing is, at the show, there's gonna be performances. I know you met Mike Mass at so if you haven't seen it, so he's performing. There's a few others, so it'll be a cool event. But so that's kind of I'm gonna keep playing with that concept, you know, with how these things transform and evolve. You know, how your work can be used in other mediums. So I think that's important, but.
That's cool.
The stuff that pulls you is the work, though.
Yeah.
Like you have the like this week is the first week I've been able to like. I knew the show was coming. I'm like, I gotta start. I had the idea, but I had nothing in my hand.
Yeah.
You know, and just yesterday I was able to like print some small renderings to play with. You know, to make like a smaller scale to make sure this is gonna work like I want it to.
Yeah.
And so hopefully play with that today a little bit, and so it's like you almost have to build that time into your schedule. You know.
Yeah. Definitely.
So,
Dude,
be creative.
We're excited to see it, man. Like, dope.
Yeah, it should be cool. I mean, there's the other photographers there. I don't want to leave anyone out. I do know some of the names, you know, that I've seen around the scene. Like a lot of my stuff, I shot at Old Dirty Sundays. Like there's gonna be some b-boy. You know, there's break in b-boy influence and what I'm doing. Little DJ. You know, that whole vibe to the piece, and I know some of the other photographers. I know Brian has covered like tons of shows, so there'll be a lot of that kind of, and then so it'll be cool.
It's gonna be a cool event.
Yeah, it should be cool. Yeah, it should be a cool event. I always like when Tony and Michelle do stuff. They always do.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. Yeah.
And Lot 1901 is so nice. We were there for an event a couple weeks ago now, but it's such a cool space.
Yeah, it's neat. So yeah. Just keep it going, man.
Going, yeah.
That's
how it is.
You just never know what's next, man. It's like what's next?
Yeah,
right?
just like keep on opening doors. Literally. Just keep on opening doors, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like this being the first time, you know, I wish I could build this time into my schedule. You know, and I know you've talked about some of the other podcasts where that theme in there about scheduling and and like when you're doing this part time. It's really hard because then you got family, you got your real job and things like that. But that doesn't really go away when you go out and do this full time. It just becomes different, you know. And you have to be really diligent about schedules and your calendar and
routine is everything.
Yeah, because when you start to get busy and then you get a client, hey, are you free? And you're like, man, do I have?
You have to check.
You have to be organized.
Yeah, that's something we figured out too.
Real quick.
Yeah. So, but what I mean by that is being, you know, can we get to a point where we start to build in like, all right, I'm not taking any jobs this week. You know, which is a scary thought. You're like,
that is a very scary thought. You said that, and I was like, a week, maybe a day.
But the question is, like, would that be more beneficial than saying, oh, I'll take that $100, $200 job, whatever it may be, quick, I'll knock it out quick, but man, that mental
short-term gain versus long-term
gain. So you don't know. I don't know the answer to that yet, but
neither do we.
That might be a good idea. Maybe.
But it's hard to get, like, my goals when I started out this second time were, you know, it's easy to say, oh, I want to be a 6-figure photographer, man. Just go kill it. But you know, again, through that corporate experience, I learned that that's not really what I want anyway. You know, because you're going to have the same stressors and issues that come up. You're just it might even be worse because you're working for yourself.
Right.
You know, there's no one else to blame. You know, can't blame your boss anymore.
It's all your fault. Yeah.
I got that jerk boss.
Responsibility.
But so it's but that's kind of where I think going forward, you have to reset yourself.
Yeah.
So it's good to have like this week where I'm like, all right, I got to remember what's important and why I'm doing this.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
You can go out and have all the fancy cars and all that stuff if you want it.
Yeah.
Or you can be, you know, happy with what you got and
Yeah,
just create
eating
cool
ramen, peanut butter jelly sandwiches, and
Yeah.
doing some stuff.
I was mad.
That's exactly-
I went to eat a peanut butter jelly last night. There was no peanut butter left.
That's so sad.
Dude, the other day I tried to
Isn't it
make
mad?
one. We didn't have no bread. I'm like,
It's sad when you're mad there's no peanut butter left for the peanut butter and sandwich.
but that just means you're a hustler, though. Like,
Yeah.
if
But
you're
it's
like,
worse when you
yeah.
already put the jelly on one side and then go to get the
Right.
peanut butter and you're like, oh.
I guess I'm just having a jelly sandwich.
That's just sad.
So instead, I had a Thousand Island apple salad.
Thousand
it's just-
Island apple.
Just apples with Thousand Island.
That's interesting.
I try it out sometime.
Those two
You want to mix it up, man.
Yeah.
Whoop it up.
4-man salad.
Dang, James. Well, we like to kind of like end all of these podcasts with this question. I don't know if you got to this part, but
I did hear. I think, but go.
Like, James, like, I know everything you're gonna ask.
This might be.
It's only
Might
two.
be what the little notepad's for. I don't know.
It's like I
I
forgot.
didn't even get this out.
I love that you took notes.
That's so
to go
funny,
on
man.
this
I think
Yeah.
I touched on some of this stuff.
That's
Yeah,
so
if there's
funny.
anything else you want to add to it, you can too.
Yeah.
All right.
But go. Maybe I'll see
Maybe
if I
you
can
can
blend
blend
it
it
in.
in.
Yeah, let's see. All right, I'm prepared. man.
That's so great.
That's
I
awesome.
got books and Post-its.
I love that. So
Yeah.
we like to talk about struggle because for us, especially since we're so new to this game, like we've realized like what's the point of trying to hide up your struggle? Like just share your struggle, help people out,
Mhm.
and just be human. You know, just be transparent with what you're dealing with.
Yep.
So what's like one thing that you're kind of like currently struggling with right now, present
Mm.
day, and on top of that, what's one thing someone can do to help James like today?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I heard that question, and I don't know if I was. I did think about it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it kind of goes back on some of what we were just talking about, like reminding myself why I'm doing this.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
because I could go and with the experience I have, I could go back and work in the insurance industry and and do pretty good and live a comfortable life and.
Yep.
And build up my 401k some more and retire maybe on time and then do
Nice
photography when I
benefits.
retire,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Yeah.
or keep doing this part-time,
Yeah.
you know, because that's been a good model, you know, for the years that I did that. It was great. I had extra money, you know, I wasn't like strapped on gear. I
Yeah.
could buy the nice stuff and but you know, I set out on this with that whole mindful and the story I was telling you about the whole Thin Line project and everything.
Yeah.
That kind of all tied together, and that's the struggle is that I see my goals. I'm very I track it every month. You know, I wish I could track like we were talking about taxes a few months ago.
Yeah.
I
James
wish I
actually
could
really
track-
helped us out a lot with taxes because we
real.
were freaking out like, James, tax day is tomorrow. We have no idea what the fuck we're doing. James like, it's okay.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, but that's I mean, I wish I did better tracking all those.
Gotcha.
expenses.
Yeah.
I'm doing better this year. I'm using
Yeah.
the QuickBooks thing, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
mobile app. But I track like my budgeted goal for each month. You know,
Mhm.
I have a number I'm trying to reach,
Yeah.
and you know that goal sometimes doesn't jive with the goal of going and do my own creative things that feed my soul and keep me happy and balanced and things. So that's the challenge, is like keeping that in mind, you know, because I ran into that in February. I had a crazy February, but it was like a job that nobody would want to turn down. It was, you know, huge. You know, it set me out for like a few months, you know,
That's
and
awesome.
and then May, we're in May, right? No, April.
Yeah.
April started out, I'm like looking at my sheet, you know, for my budget. I'm like, I need to fill in some dates here.
That's literally how our calendar is. We're like,
yeah, so
damn.
Yeah.
So it's kind of empty right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And then but as April went on, dude, it like into April I was like, oh, help me. like this is the stress that I don't like, you know. So you're finding that balance, and maybe it's just like I said, like I posed that question, like how do we build this time into our schedule to where it's blocked out, you know, I don't know that I figured that out yet,
Mhm.
but maybe it has to do with, you know, I did a job the other day that I priced really high, and it was a combination of not being sure on the wanting to do the work, maybe, or it's actually a funny story. Did I tell you this?
No.
So it started out with an email, and I'm like, is this one of those family reunion emails? Like, hey, can you shoot my family reunion? It's 8 hours. Do you take credit card?
Yeah.
Like, you know the scam, right? You've seen the email. If
Wait,
you haven't got it yet,
wait,
you'll get it.
What?
It's like this scam email that you'll get it, and it comes out, and it's like, hey, can you do this family reunion? It's in. You can tell the English in there is not right, like a translation.
Okay.
It's just like, this isn't right. You know, what's your rate? You know, and do you take credit cards? Everything's like up front, and you're like, whoa, I got some questions. You know, and so it starts off, and you reply back, and you realize that the English isn't like they're from some other country. And but if you Google it, you'll see family reunion photographer email scam. You can read about it, but now I've learned to like mess with these people. Like you reply and be like, I charge $100,000 and I take money orders only, and you know, you just kind of mess with the people a bit. So I got an email from someone on an event, and it started out, I was like, is this one of those? So I started to kind of, my first reply wasn't how I normally would reply, like a nice business person. So it started out like that. So anyway, the rate I pitched was higher because I was like, is this real?
Let's play around with this.
So it wasn't $100,000, but it was double what I would normally do.
Dude, that's awesome.
And they went for it. And it turns out, like I did it the other day, and it's like, dude, this is gonna be a great client. Like it was like a social kind of club, and there's some big businesses that are part of that club.
Damn.
And I was like, oh snap. But at the same time, I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, hey man, maybe I'm not charging enough, you know?
Right.
Because they didn't blink an eye.
Nope.
And even this morning, they replied back and they said, hey, I didn't realize that we have to pay. I don't know. I think there was like. I think I gave them like 200 some photos, right?
Yeah.
And on my website, I have it set up where people, if they want to download like a social media version of a photo, they can pay $10 and download.
Okay.
I don't sell a lot there, but she saw that after I delivered the photo. She goes, "Oh, you didn't tell me I have to pay another $2,000 to download the photos. Is that correct?" And I was like, "Oh no, you already paid for that. You know, here's the password and all this stuff."
Yeah.
But in my head, I was like, she was ready to like I could
Go
have
for
said
it.
that. So I'm like, what am I? You know, maybe I either got the wrong clients or I need to charge more, or a combination of both. But then my point is to wrap it up, is that maybe that's the answer, is that you, as you develop as artists and you get more comfortable with your work, it's solid, you know, it's hard to go back and charge your old clients more money.
Yeah.
I've read that, and I've kind of felt that way. But someone new in the door, you can start a new precedent. And maybe that's how you build that into your schedule, where you like
just start charging more.
Work smarter, charge a little more if it's warranted, and then you can free up your time. You know,
That's true.
I mean, that could also put you in like the 6-figure, push yourself up. But if remember your goal. If that's not your goal,
it's all about your goal.
Take your time, and then boom, then you got your creative time to keep it going.
Yeah.
So
that's
so. But yeah, these other things were like they had all these notes.
Post-it note.
How much time do we have?
You're doing great, bro. Keep going. Keep hitting a record. I think we're gonna hit a we're gonna do a quick little like tax season spreadsheet.
I'll go through taxes next.
But no, I mean, I talked about like not like some of the prior artists were talking about not being sure about who they are, and one of the pitfalls there. I was thinking about it a lot last night, because we've all gone through that, where what am I doing? Like what's my target market, and what am I really after? What do I put in my portfolio? Oh, I'm changing I'm taking that out of my portfolio. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing weddings. I'm not doing this. So we all go through that. And I think it takes time to get to a point where you're comfortable with what you are and what you represent. But the problem with that is that if you don't get there, it's going to be like a bar to like act. You're going to keep spinning your wheels and never go forward. So I think and it's not something you want to rush, But I think it goes back to putting yourself in compromising situations or taking risks to begin with.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to figure that out faster.
True.
That's true.
And things like, and I think that leaked all the way down to someone saying, well, I don't have my website yet because I don't know what I want to do. It's like, I mean, but you got to figure that out, man. Because it's like, we're in a world that this is what we do. We help people build their brand. And they want to see what our brand is.
That's true.
So it's, so that's like, even if it's just like the free Adobe like portfolio page. I mean, throw something in there.
Secretary heard that. We gotta do that.
Don't be scared about like what's in there. Like,
Gotcha.
Just pick your core stuff. It could be 10 photos, 10 images, or video clips, and have it's there, man, and just build on that. You can always change it.
Yeah.
But if you don't do it, it's like a bar. It's like a bar to, you're limiting yourself, I guess, is probably a good way to put it. But I wanted to mention that.
Sorry, James.
True.
I'm just gonna click a quick little pause. I don't want to rush you, so just to be on the safe side. So
we should pause again.
first, second pause. This is dope.
I know.
All right.
This is so much good. It's great.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right. So quick little pause. And we're back.
And we're back.
Sorry, I'm like going overboard.
No, it was so
good.
good.
I'm just sharing so much. I love so much.
Shit, man. You need a new sticker. James said
sharing. Got you this whole.
Just call it back out.
Or just.
That's what I'm gonna put up there on the board.
Yes.
There we go, sharing.
I'm just trying to help.
Thanks. So James,
no, it's great.
James is officially our longest podcast to date.
Yes.
Which is dope. That's a cool
James, how do you feel?
record to have. How does it feel,
I'm kind
James?
of torn. I feel good, but at the same time, like maybe this is too much.
No, it's
Maybe
not.
You can never have too much, bro.
Yeah.
Like honestly, you just have so much wisdom and years of experience that we just needed to make it longer because that's just how it works.
Well, one of the goals I had on my when I set out and had talked about those income streams.
Yeah.
One of it was teaching, and which I know you guys can appreciate. But but I feel like I'm at a point now where I have like relevant information to share and that could be helpful to people.
Oh yeah.
I've talked about I did the part-time thing for so long, that actually building on that more about how, there's been a stigma in the world, in the creative world about, maybe not so much now, but at least in the past I've run into, you're just a part-time, you're just taking money away from the full-time people and you're taking jobs that we could have had.
That's interesting.
You don't need it. You already got, So,
wow.
I mean,
people are like this?
I never would have.
I didn't think about that like that. But you feel it. You're good. You're good.
Man. But no, that's come up. And I think where I did experience it when I started to get more into the creative side of photography and present things as art and get into that world. I got some good feedback out of it, but at the same time I got that impression that they were only letting people come present at a certain event that I felt like I wanted to get a part of. The ones that they were full time, they're doing it and they're in the struggle and all that, and I can appreciate that, and especially now being on the other side of it. But at the same time, there's something to be said about the part-time creative. Someone who is choosing to say, you know what, I have a nice balance right here.
Some
and
people are okay with that
about
life. It just depends on what you want.
Right.
Like that's it.
Yes.
And because I mean that's a unique. Anyway, I was going to talk. I was like, man, I have a lot, like a whole, like how if someone wants to enter that world, like I'd want to help them do that. You know, how do you set your life up to have that part-time kind of gig, and what's your long-term goal? Do you want to you can set it up to where you can work it in and be full-time in the future. And so that's some of the ideas with teaching, and then the artistic side about connecting, like not to sound weird, but connecting your camera with your think of the right word, with your subconscious mind. And I know that sounds like
AI stuff,
Swayze, art, man. Let's go crazy, right? But it's real, man. Like and that happened as part of that project, the Thin Line project, and that's one of the stories I tell about. That was the trip when I stayed out all night, and it was that whole trip. And see, now this thing's gonna go on.
Keep going.
Keep going.
But no, and I wish I had like the photos in front of me. I could hold it up.
That'd be so dope.
But it's on. Yeah, it's. I don't know if it's on the Instagram page because I created another page, and that's one of those things like, I take stuff off, I put it down.
Yes.
I just put it my other way. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway,
if you find it, send it to us.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can probably like pop it in real quick.
Yeah,
but
it's a photo that around that period, that was like 2 years ago maybe, and for me, like personally, I have kids. My son is 19. My daughter just turned 18 the other day, so it's like I was like a couple years ago. I'm like going through periods like we're very close. You know, I'm very involved with their lives and everything, and so it's like, man, they're moving on. Like, what am I gonna do? You know, and you know, so you have this feeling of you start to pay attention to people with kids, you know, out on the street, or they got their oh, look at the baby. And before I was like, no babies. I've been through that. I don't want anything to do with that. But as you get older, you're like, you kind of miss those moments. And then there's some other stuff going on in life too that played into this. But that whole trip in New York, I found myself like the second I started shooting, when I got off the plane and started wandering the streets, I shot like a lot of kids in the settings, you know, in the city. You know, there was a kid of a little boy in a window, who he had his hand on the window, and his mom's in the background on her phone with like this look on her face of like total frustration, like life is like so stressful right now. The boy's just like smiling and just connected with me right in through the window, you know, and it just happened like that. Boom, kept walking. But I was like,
that's awesome.
You know, and then the little boy in a car with some balloons and just little moments like that. There was a little boy and his dad, grandpa, maybe sitting on top of some shopping carts outside of. But there, you know, it was just the way it was composed. So there's a bunch of those.
I love that.
It just kept happening, and I didn't think anything of it. I'm just shooting. You know, I'm just capturing the stuff as I go. And then one night, it was the night that I stayed out. I was using city bikes, the rental bikes, to get around. So I was on one of those, and I kind of got lost. I was around like right outside the Chelsea area, but not in Chelsea. I was trying to get back to the Airbnb that I had that night. So that was actually the night before I stayed out all night. And so I was riding back, and I saw this little scene. I kept going. I was like, oh, I gotta turn around. I gotta get that. Yeah. And so I turned all the way around and went back, and I parked the bike on the side so they kind of wouldn't see me because I had that light. It was starting to, it was dark. But the light was flashing, you know? Like, you can't turn those off or whatever. So I parked the bike behind some cars across the street, and I shot that one with a longer lens. So I didn't want to intrude, but what it was is it was a little girl with a basketball. And she had this basketball. She's kind of bouncing around, and it looked like her dad was on the steps, and they were like having dinner, like outside of. It wasn't like the brownstones with a nice porch, or it was like an apartment building in New York, and you know, there was not really even a step for them to sit on, but the light was coming out of the glass door, so it kind of illuminated them a little bit, and but they were eating like Chinese food out of the boxes, and and then the little girl got up, she started bouncing the ball again. I was like, fired some shots off, and then didn't think anything of it. And then the next day I went out to Central Park, and in the morning I was just kind of relaxing and chilling. And then of course, what do I see? I see all these kids and their parents and stuff playing in the park, and I was like, damn, what the hell's going on? You know, so just kind of mental notes, you know, just trying to enjoy the day. And then I walk over to there's that little reflection pond where the sailboats are, you know what I'm talking about? So no one's really out there. It was a weekday, and there was a lady. She walked by, and she had a little boy in a stroller, and they walked right in front of me. And he was cool. He's like leaning back. He was standing up, looking backwards at her, and eating like a croissant or something. So then they parked the stroller.
Like remembers everything.
Dude, I remember everything.
Awesome.
This is crazy. Yeah. They parked the stroller, and then he gets off. And he's probably like 3 years old, 4, you know, barely walking, and he had his croissant, so the birds like surround him, little pigeons and stuff. And I was like, oh, dude, that's a sick shot, man. I gotta get that. Yeah. But then I was like, the mom, there's no one else out there, so it's not like I can do this, you know,
without being like
stealth
weird.
mode.
Not taking a photo, just
And Because usually I can do it in the city, you're just shooting,
yeah.
but this was very like intimate kind of moment.
Yeah.
It would've been, you know, and they're like, who the hell is this dude? So, you know, so I what I ended up doing was going over and I was like, hey, do you mind if I take this picture? You know, here's what I'm doing. I do street photography. And at first she was like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, I have kids too, you know, so it's kind of like, you know, I connect with that. I was telling her this little story.
Yeah.
She goes, oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead, it's cool.
Yeah.
But then I turn around and it's like he already ate the croissant. The birds are gone.
Dang.
There's no shot. There's not. I didn't shoot anything.
Dang.
So we just ended up talking, had a little moment. But then I started walking up the little path to go up back out to the little meadow area or whatever to chill. And dude, I started like just like emotions hit me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? You know? And I just started rolling through my camera, looking at the photos I took and everything. And that was like I picked it up, man. I was like, dude, that's like.
Wow.
You connected it.
Your
My
psyche,
subconscious,
yeah,
mine is like it's drawn and that only happens when you let go.
Yes.
Like you gotta let go and just go shoot. Like if you're doing stuff, and you can do that when you're working with clients too. Let go and let go of all the crap and the BS, and just go with it. Go with the flow and the emotion. That's what happens, man. You create really cool stuff, and so that was a damn. I think I went way.
No. I just that was
awesome. Just hearing you like describe these images, like I can actually see them.
Man, I feel like I'm like even more connected to you now because I'm like, wow, like just like you appreciate. That's what really what it is, appreciating the freaking moment. Yeah. And like just capturing it and then like reflecting back on it and then just it's a whole story behind the story. But
that's like, but that bubbles up into like who you are as an artist and as, you know, potential client for someone, because you need to tell those stories and they need to know that too. You know, like some of my biggest clients, they follow me on social media, and so they see, and I think they like that. They like that I'm transparent, and but at the same time I'm smart. I'm not gonna go post some crazy shit.
No.
It's gonna like, you know, go against their core values as a company. You know, you have to consider all those things. But you have to get to a point where you can let yourself go. And that's where like the whole part-time and the time you have, that's where it became like you gotta really let go of some of those things to have that happen. But it's funny, like you said, like what's my struggle now is like it's getting back to that. Because now when I went out, you know, last August and say, here I go again, you know, let's do this. I've been really fortunate, like to have the right formula where, dude, I'm busy, and it's like, how do I get back to that where I have the luxury to say, I'm gonna just unwind for a few days and just check out and just go with the flow. So that's what I'm trying to get back to that. I think it'll come, you know, but anyway, that goes back to the teaching thing, because I want to talk about that with people. Like I want to have people be able to connect, like let go and connect. And so when I see classes like talking about street photography, and I know like the museum's doing one, and there's some people teaching it, I'm like, man, I want to, you know, I want to create that outlet where I'm doing some of that and taking small groups of people out.
Saying,
I definitely see it in you. You have like it's kind of weird because like even though I didn't enjoy being a teacher just because I didn't like hanging out with the other teachers, I really did enjoy being a teacher just by being a teacher for my students. And you definitely have a heart of a teacher for sure.
Dude.
So
that's what I liked about the corporate world too, because I could mentor and develop people.
That's dope.
So I do miss that part of it.
Yeah.
But I can do that here. That's what
you don't need to have
I need to kick that in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So maybe you guys can help me with that.
Dude, definitely we're like,
or anyone out there, what can I help you with? Let's do that. Let's make that the thing.
Yeah.
If anyone out there, and if it's you that wants to learn, but I want people that are serious, because I've had people come to me a lot and they're like, hey, you know, I want to go shoot with you, I want to do stuff, but then it's like you got to have the hunger, man. We got to go do it. You know, and I don't get like the follow up. I know you guys, we did some stuff together already, and some more of that, and but yeah, if there's someone out there that wants to. We're talking about New York doing the
Fashion Week.
Doing the Fashion Week, street photography.
Yes.
You know, I've thought about that more, and I want to do that. Need to just price it out and see how many people we can accommodate.
Yeah. That'd be really
Yeah.
cool. Actually, we should start planting those seeds now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can get people on board.
So
We'll be talking about that soon.
Yeah, let's put something together. Maybe you guys can help with some of that. And, but I want to make it collaborative too. Like maybe in the evenings we check back in the room.
Bro,
like, let's take a look at each other's stuff.
Yeah.
Dude,
How can we improve? What's impactful?
All right, we just came out with something dope
Oh,
in the middle of a podcast.
So maybe something like that. And then being able to tap into some of the people I know over there. We'll go shoot some street fashion stuff.
Yeah, all the
yes.
dude.
Yeah.
This is gonna be awesome.
I don't think people are ready. I don't think people are ready for this. Damn.
Oh, it's gonna be lit.
But we could do it. Yeah. I mean, there's no reason we can't do that. Stuff.
That's
true.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was it, man. I mean, there's a couple of the other thing too.
Post-it note. That is so great. You're the first person to bring notes.
Yeah, dude. Seriously,
no, but this
that's
is
dope.
I like to talk about it.
Yeah.
And, when you and I went through those photos you guys took the event.
Yeah.
Some of that and some of the stuff that I've been looking at too, like for myself, is like learning to be okay with some imperfections, because usually when I'm editing, it's always like photo 100% crop, 1:1 focus, check, noise, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Move on, and do my edits.
Yeah.
And I used to be so like hard on myself, and to the point where it's like I do a set of photos for someone. I was like, man, I don't like these, man, and someone else was like, dude, those are solid, man. What are you talking about? But just being like hard on yourself and being okay with imperfections. That's something I've kind of relearned a little bit recently, and I think it's been great. Letting more, just balance between the creative side and the perfect, the technically perfect
side.
Yeah, that's true.
I've always kind of leaned like less technical. I mean, I technically perfect when it comes to like off-camera lighting and things like that. I kind of like hard, edgy shadows and I've had feedback before. It said, well, you should have used like a backlight or rim light or something. You should have done this and
like, well, that's what I wanted it to look like. So
so I mean, so but some of that is true. Depending on who you're shooting for, you can do certain things. But that's been the other thing I'm working on lately is being okay with the imperfections. So.
Love it.
Yeah. But
James.
Dan, what else, man? We could just keep going.
Let's go all day.
yeah. But no, this is good, man. I want to thank you guys for doing it.
Thank you for being on this podcast.
We appreciate your time.
Having people come out and tell their story and everything. It's nice.
That's what we want.
The fact that people actually come and take the time to spend an hour,
literally,
half an hour, 2
Yeah,
hours. With us,
like seriously, like, this might be
crazy.
like a whole nice setup and stuff. But like we're literally just like in an apartment, like
in our living room.
It makes no idea. Like we literally had no budget for like a nice co-working space where we could like set up a podcast. So like, you know what? We're just gonna do it in our apartment.
Yep,
we're
gonna make a table and people will come.
Literally. And we made the table just because we didn't have enough money to buy a table.
Nice,
so like
great.
we're just hustling it out here. So James, thank you so much. Is there any way? What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah,
let them know.
I mean, Instagram's easy. Photoset by James. That's FOTOSET. Photo with an F. I don't know why did I do that. It's there, man. It's been there for a while now. And then obviously my website, photosetbyjames.com.
Yeah, love it.
And
then all his like links and stuff are gonna be in the podcast notes, so you can take a look at that. Check out his work. And YouTube as well. Yeah.
In my YouTube debut, man. I've never been on YouTube.
You have nothing on YouTube?
No.
Wow, that's crazy. First time in podcast. First time in a YouTube video. It's an hour and a half. I love it, bro. I love it. Dang. Well, thank you so much for this, guys, James. We appreciate you and just your friendship in general, bro.
Great, man.
You're an awesome dude. We're excited to continue to work with you, and we look forward to what the future holds for us, man.
Absolutely.
This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Oh, September's gonna be awesome.
Damn.
Yeah,
they're not ready for it. Yeah, that's cool. All right, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're still listening to this, you are freaking dope.
Yes.
Let us know. Literally, just
for real.
Drop what should we tell them to drop?
I don't know.
So just drop.
Drop 3 coconuts.
Drop a coconut.
Yeah, drop 3 coconuts to our DMs so that way we know
we'll find a way to get you a
you're
sticker
real.
Somehow.
Yeah. Okay. You want to give them a sticker?
Yeah.
I love it.
We gotta figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
So do that. All right, guys. Take it easy.
All right.
That's a wrap. Before we end this podcast, I just want to give a huge shout out to EV47. He's the one that made the beat for the beginning and end of this podcast. So you should definitely check him out because he's dope. And yeah, peace.
Yes.